So,
yeah.
All right, we are live. This is Craig Harris. This is Craig's Corner, and bunker down, folks. Massive storm moving through the area. If you hear a giant sucking noise, I've been sucked up, so pour out a little liquor for the black man in the green chair. You know what I'm saying? But it is Scorpio Eve or Scorpion Eve, whatever you want to call it. All the Xbox community is in full throat at this point on what Digital Foundry is going to show. And I am joined by the one and only, the man with the plan, JDub, also known as Kratos. Go ahead and shout yourself out on out there, brother.
Hey, everybody. It's your boy, JDub, a.k.a. Kratos, the god of PlayStation. I'm kicking it with my man, Craig. We're about to just chop it up a little bit about what's going on. And we're, like Craig said, we're on the eve of the Scorpio spec reveal. So, we're going to talk a little bit about it. And thank you for having me on.
No problem. Yeah, we are about 12 to 14 hours away to finding out what this thing can and cannot do. So let me go ahead and you're the guest here. Why don't you go ahead and tell me what your expectations are versus what your what we want versus what we think it's going to be versus what do you think it's going to be first versus what you want it to be. Do you think it's going to be more powerful than the 6T flops and all that stuff? Do you think it's going to come under that a little bit? What do you think Digital Foundry unveils tomorrow?
Well, this is what I think. I think we're going to have something similar to the PlayStation Pro.
Okay.
I know for a fact it's going to be more powerful than the Pro. That's a given. Microsoft has said 6 teraflops. That's exactly what it's going to get. And so that's our expectation, is to get what Microsoft has promised us. We've heard them say 4K 60 frames per second, uncompromised, and a lot of people, especially from the PlayStation community, they're going to hold Microsoft to that. Now, is that an oversell? Is that an overreach? I don't know. Only Digital Foundry can tell us that. But personally, I'm willing to cut Microsoft some slack. I mean, compared to the system that they have now, the Xbox One and the Xbox One S, things hadn't been looking so good the last 3 years. So I'm going to cut them some slack. And I understand that Xbox guys are very, anxious and these guys are just proud. This is a moment for them. And I'll give them that. I'm not gonna. I think I'm taking a week or two of solace from from picking on the guys. And me, like I said, I'm a self-proclaimed troll. I like to start stuff with those guys and other people, and it just keeps things funny and keep things going. But my second mind tell me, as a guy that have a very powerful PC rig, when you say things like 4K 60 frames per second uncompromised, when you say stuff like that, you're putting yourself in the PC realm, and that's something I don't think consoles will probably ever do. I don't think that they will ever be in the PC realm. And the reason I say that is because these guys are out here spending, $1,000, $1,500 on video cards for their computers, and they play games like The Witcher and more graphical demanding games. And these guys are having issues running these games at 60 frames per second all the time. So with the PC being $2,500, I just don't see that stacking up side by side with a Scorpio. I think we need to temper our expectations, but hey, that's just me.
Yeah, I understand that. So you're getting down off your troll horse. You're taking my advice for a couple weeks.
I am.
Kind of letting them have the day.
Yeah, you convince me. But another thing with that is, this it's fun and games for me. It's all fun and games, man. I'm a big fan, and I tell anybody that I'm a fan first. I have all the consoles, so it doesn't matter. I'm probably going to get Scorpio. I don't know if I'm going to get it day one, but depending on what games are going to be available and how they look and stuff like that, that's very telling. Price is another thing. That's something that we'll get to probably later down in the show. But Digital Foundry, a lot of people from the Xbox community don't like Digital Foundry because as everyone know, Digital Foundry tends to call out the specs. They tend to call out the frame drops, the resolution and stuff like that. And if you're on the wrong end of the spectrum, then you're probably not going to like them. In this generation, Digital Foundry has been telling the truth. These guys, I don't think they're biased at all. I mean, they call out Sony for some of their games running subpar and stuff like that. So it's just what happened is just so happened the Xbox One has been the weaker console. Maybe not by a lot, but it's all the same. Some games are running 720p, some sub 720p, others 900p when the PlayStation is doing 1080p. So, that's the fight that goes back and forth, and it's all entertainment, man. It's at the end of the day, Xbox has some great games. PlayStation definitely has some great games. I mean, oh man, I can talk about that, all those games all day. But so I'm taking a break, man. I've been picking up some guys and just kind of getting some stuff started because I like when Twitter gets quiet, man. I don't like it. I like seeing some rumbles and some new news come out, and I like people being engaged, and it just shows the passion that us gamers have. Whether you like the PlayStation or whether you like the Nintendo or whether you like Microsoft's product, it's all good. I keep telling people, I remember just a couple of years ago, all these analysts and all these people were saying that gaming was dead and everything was going to mobile. And what happened? Us gamers came out, we spoke, and we showed them that this is not what we want. We support our platforms, we support our games, and we don't want to be pushed to just playing games on the damn iPhone.
Yeah, it's I agree. I certainly hope they keep things in check. I've seen people do clickbait things of everything changes tomorrow to and shout out to Gamers United. He had that title. I was like, man, what are you talking about? Everything changes tomorrow. but shout out to him. He's a cool guy. And they even saw another guy said it made the Scorpio was going to make the Pro irrelevant. And it's just kind of like, I don't understand that mode of thinking because the Pro already does 4K gaming. I trolled a little bit the other day with the guy, and I told him, I said, man, look, I remember walking into the video game stores. It was either Electronics Boutique or at the time, that's how old. It was a while ago, Funko Land, something like that. And you could buy games for the Nintendo 64, the Neo Geo, the Dreamcast, and I believe the PlayStation 1. I said, nope, that was a grand time in gaming. Exactly. Thinking, so they're under the impression that all the multi-plat games, and that's the tweet that just came out, was that one guy said he will switch to the Scorpio for his multi-plat games versus playing them on the PlayStation Pro right now. And I'm like, look, if my TV, since it does 4K and HDR, I will end up with the Scorpio, but it's not going to be till the fail rate comes out. Shout out to the viewers that are watching. But yeah, I need to, and I have to wait 90 days for that. So
exactly.
So, but I personally think Digital Foundry is going to, because they're not going to, I don't know if they're going to announce any games or anything like that. But what had happened, and I got this from a third person, was Digital Foundry, based on the white paper that it leaked, they built a PC to run like 80 to 85% of the Scorpio, and they were going to report tomorrow that it wasn't that good. So what Microsoft did is said, hey, look, no, we're going to go ahead and give you this is going to be a dev kit. So I don't know if this is going to be the final product, but if it's a dev kit, probably not. But they're going to let them get, what do you think about that? Do you think they're going to get, is this the final product, or do you think we get something different here in 90 days?
Okay, I got two frames of mind. One my new renewed non-troll spirit tells me that this is going to be the final product, and Digital Foundry is going to go in and see this thing, and it's going to do as advertised. But I don't, what we don't know is what games are going to be displayed, if any. They just may come in and hand them a spec sheet and say, look, this is our CPU, this is our GPU, this is the memory, this is this, and this is that. And then they look at the sheet and say, okay, well, based off this, you guys should be able to hit this. We don't know if they're going to get physical hands-on with the actual system. And then my troll mind tells me that Microsoft going to bring them a dev kit, and that bitch is going to be blowed out. It's going to be a full-blown PC inside of it. They're going to oversell to Digital Foundry.
That to interrupt you. It allegedly has 12 gigabytes of RAM and GDR5. So it's that's GDR5. That's you can. I mean, I've told people before, if Sony is doing 4K native on certain games with 4.2. At 6, they should be able to do it all the time. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to. What I want is for them to say, okay, every game going back to the original Xbox is going to be backwards compatible, and through sparse rendering technique, those games, the older games, will still be 2160p, and then the other games will be native 4K. But I'm with you. I'm just going to wait and see exactly what I get, because until I can go to the store and buy it, it doesn't exist. It's just something on a spec sheet right
now.
Look,
we see it all the time, man.
Yeah.
You know, we see I hear echo. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, hold on. Let me that could be the siren.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me close my window because there is a siren going on.
All right, no problem.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Okay. Now, what they could do is, I'm thinking, you know, Microsoft will deliver, but think about it, man. Most of those games are 720p and sub 1080p. So when you stretching those pixels trying to blow that puppy out to, 2160, I just don't think, I don't think those games are going to look pretty good without the developers actually going back and patching in higher resolutions and stuff like that. Sony's been successful with it, but Mark Cerny kind of gave his thing. So I'm maybe Microsoft can do the same thing. What we do know is they have 2+ teraflops more. The big question that everybody should be asking themselves is the difference between 2 teraflops. Will Microsoft be able to show us the visible difference besides just resolution and we all know resolution isn't everything. I mean, do you agree? Yeah. Resolution isn't everything, but you also have to go back to the fact that Microsoft just doesn't have any visually demanding games like Sony do. I mean, Sony came out the gate with Infamous, which is, even today, 3 years later, that game is like, man, that game is sharp.
Yeah,
that game is, and that was, almost a launch game. That was during the first year, I believe. So
that's one of the, that's the reason, that's how I got my PS4, was because the guy at GameStop, I remember that, he said, look, Infamous Second Son is about to release, and that's one of their big games because it's 1080p and stuff like that, and they want to show people what a 1080p game is like. So he just said they're waiting on their fail rate to come back. So they didn't put a whole bunch out on the shelf. So he said they cause a choke point for fail rate. That's it. He said it was for fail rate only. But yeah, about 2 weeks before Infamous came out, that's when I got my PlayStation. But I bought and after I bought Infamous, I took it back, and they had the last that was in their remastered. I'm like, all right, well, let me see, because I'm coming off the 360. I'm like, well, let me see what this is all about, because all you've heard about is this game for the last 3 years. And then I played it, and I was like, wow. I mean, I was like,
exactly.
Man, that's the best game I've ever played. Single game I've ever played. So
yeah, I mean, but back to what I said, that was a very young game. And that game, even to this day, it holds up really well. I would pit Infamous against any Microsoft graphical game that you guys want, and that game would probably come out on top. And we've ever since then we've moved past Infamous. You know, we're talking about Horizon Zero Dawn, the Uncharted, and everything else. You know, Sony they have the talented studios to drain every piece of resource out the box. I think with Microsoft, the best thing we have graphically will probably be Rise, which was a launch title.
Yeah, that still looks good. I mean, that's a good looking game.
You know, the Racer, Horizon, you know, Forza Horizon 3, which is a good looking game. You know, and maybe Gears of War 4 because it has, you know, some particle effects and stuff like that. But those, when you play those games, you don't just say, look, this is why I bought this system because this, I mean, with the PlayStation, you just want to bring people into your house and say, look. I mean, it's a showcase. You know what I'm saying? It's a showcase. Even guys that are diehard PC guys have to tip their hat to the PlayStation for delivering those kind of games. And that is something that's like, that shit shouldn't be able to be played on a console. And that was some things that kind of worried a lot of people before Horizon Zero Dawn came out. You know, people were saying, man, I hope this game can live up to it. And, you know, I don't think those graphics, it's going to be downscaled. It's going to be, you know, and all kind of stuff. And that game came out and it exceeded expectations. So can you imagine what the next round of games gonna look like?
Well, I mean, I think that's going to lead off with, I think we're going to get a Spider-Man release date. And I think we're gonna release date for that and God of War this year, and of course the Naughty Dog game, which I was told is going to be anywhere from 5 to 7 hours long. The Uncharted, because it was only supposed to be DLC, and now they're making it a story. So, but I think it's going to be $29.99. So originally it was going to be $19, but they add more story to it and things like that, and then Nathan Drake makes a cameo. That's in air quotes. I know y'all can't see me, but if he can make a cameo, then they could bump it up a little bit. But yeah, I don't disagree, and I've heard everybody say, and I've heard Titanfall Princess say this, so shout out to her. I don't think I know anybody that wanted Microsoft to do this bad this generation. But let me ask you, why do you think they have the fanboys on the Microsoft side? Why do you think they have such a hard time comparing the Pro to the Xbox One S? Because they're both mid-gen consoles.
Amen.
But well, why do you feel there's such a pushback from them on that?
Well, it's because, man, you got to think about it. I mean, you've been getting your head stomped for 3 years. You don't want to get a competition. I mean, you will stick your fingers in your ears and deny all day. But it is what it is. And, you know, like I said, I'm going to try to ease up off the guys, man. I don't want to, you know, put myself in a bucket where, you know, even my fellow, you know, Xbox gamers would just shun me and be like, oh, no, you're too rough on us. You know, and I'm fair. And I tell them, look, man, you know, I bought all the games. You know, I bought the Quantum Breaks, the Records, and the Gears and everything else. I didn't care that it was 720p and 592p and all these weird resolutions. I still bought it. I still support it. I think, man, what it is it's just like, you know, I kind of compare it to your favorite football team. You know, I'm in Houston, so I'm in Texas. My favorite football team is Houston Texans. Right. You know, my team never won, you know, hasn't won Super Bowl, and you know, we've been lucky to make it to the playoffs a couple of times. So when I'm talking to, you know, fellow Cowboy fans, which I don't like the Cowboys, but hey, that's another thing. I have to kind of save face. You know, they you got kicked out the playoffs. I have to save face and hope and pray that they fail and they get kicked out the playoffs too. And then when they do, you know, I get to scream and yell. And it's just it's friendly competition, and that's what it is, man. It's all about friendly competition. But I do think some people have a hard time accepting that the PlayStation Pro is already a 4K capable console. It's given us 4K native games, 4K checkerboarded games, and it's been doing that for 6 months now. And by the time the Scorpio is released, it would have been a year and a half. Right. So these guys want to compare something that's been on the market for a year and a half to something that is fresh out day one, you know. So how can you do that? I don't know. And so they're touting the power. They're touting it. It's like, look, your console has been out. My console has been out for a year and a half doing this stuff. Yours is just coming out doing this stuff. Why are you so happy? Well, I mean, and I get it. I get why they're happy, man. Like I said, when you've been getting Digital Foundry haven't been nice to those guys. They've been telling the truth. They've been like, hey, this game here dips into the 20s. It dips into the teens. This game here is under 720p. It's 800p. It's 900p. It's you know, upscaled up. It's this, it's that, and all kind of techniques that they've been having. I get it, man. These guys are just they do not want to concede this generation.
It's over. This generation's over.
Make no mistake about it. Even Forbes just did a piece that basically said that this generation has been over. Not only has it been over, but it's
late 14. Yeah,
exactly. Right now, it's a bloodbath. It's a slaughter fest. That's their words. It's a slaughter fest. Yeah. I mean, come on now. When a company stop reporting their numbers of consoles that they sold, that's when you know it's over.
Well, they to the public, but if you have stock in Microsoft, you can get the numbers. I see their numbers, so because I have stock in their company, so every stockholder gets. I can request I can request a fact sheet from Microsoft, and they have to give it to me.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Okay, a lot of stockholders don't care to go that deep. Those guys want to know how healthy the company is doing. Well, the company. So when you spin it, when you hear stuff about, man, you know, this Xbox division, these guys have, 256 million hours of gameplay, and they have, 236 million user engagement hours and stuff. The big numbers like that sounds good if you don't know what you're looking for, but to the average gamer that knows, well, they know how to call bullshit. I mean, gamers know how to call PR spin from reality. Sometimes we embrace it. Sometimes we embrace it when it benefits us. Sometimes we don't when it doesn't. That's just
and that's a good point, though, Kratos, because the reason this is for everybody who's listening now, who will listen in the future. The reason why Microsoft is telling you those numbers is that's for the shareholders.
Yes,
that's it. They want the shareholders to know, here's how long we're still relevant. That's what they're doing. That's all they're doing. I mean, and the whole, how come Phil Spencer and those guys won't call the Scorpio a 9th gen console? It's because of the licenses. They don't want to have to repay for the licenses of the game. So it's just like, no, same game. We're going to pay for the exact same licenses. Exactly. We're just going to give the developers the ability with their own money.
Yes.
To go ahead and do this, which is fine. And that's why, and Mark Cerny did it too. That's why he said it takes 1% to 2% more man hours. He was trying to give the people working on the actual gaming a number they could put on developing the patches and all that kind of stuff. So it's that's a legitimate point. But yeah, I can tell you now they've sold like 28 million Xboxes, and that's all 4 SKUs. That is the original Xbox, that's the Elite, that's the Xbox One S, and it's they've got 3 or 4 SKUs, but they didn't change what it could do until the Xbox One S. I think they got rid of the ES RAM. They and again, it helped because the games, games that were 900p are 1080p now. That's not a coincidence. So what I don't like about it is the sound. I think is still 5.1. I've said that before.
They don't have the audio codecs that's more recent, like the Dolby Atmos, the DTS HD, and the other stuff like that. They say it's going to be patched in, but if
the Scorpio is going to have that, it will have all that.
Well, it should. I mean, let's face it should. But let's rewind back to when the Xbox One S released. Remember, guys were touting that as the next best thing because it was, it had the 4K Blu-ray player, and Microsoft spent it as, hey, we have the true 4K system here, and obviously, you know, the PlayStation fans, they call bullshit on it. They're like, that is not a true. This thing will upscale your games to the TV, but you know, a lot of people know that your TV is automatically going to upscale your content to 4K anyway.
Yeah, that's why I had to argue with people about that. I'm like, the TV's doing that anyway.
And you know what upscaling is? It's just stretching. It's just stretching to make sure you don't have that little box of the native resolution in the middle of your TV. It just stretches it so it fits the actual panel. But now once you have to go and rework the pixels, that's when you come into the true content of restructuring the image and actually getting a true 4K experience out of it. This is why, you know, the PlayStation Pro on some games, they'll have resolution like 1800p and they'll reconstruct it with checkerboard and add some pixels and stuff in there. They're actually modding the graphics of it, the pixel, they're adding pixels and stuff to make it 4K. They're not just stretching the image, which your TV is probably going to do anyway. So
yeah, they're cloning. That's all I check it. The first 2 pixels are native 4K. It's just the next 2 are cloned. So it looks like a checkerboard. So if the first pixel native is green, the next pixel clone is blue. And then it just keeps doing that. And then, like you said, it starts stretching the image. And you can't, and I can just tell people right now, a game that's 1800p, that's upscaled to 2160p through checkerboarding, you can't tell the difference in that and a 4K native picture if you're 5 to 7 feet away, like we should be. Yeah, like we should be. But if you're 3 feet in, you will be able to see a difference. I mean, like I said, with the whole HDR, the people can make fun of me on this now. I was talking JDub this. I had a 4K HDR TV. I didn't know I had HDR on there. I had no idea how to do that shit. So I was like, but yeah, you were talking about rewind back to the kind of how people were kind of arguing and pushing back. And shout out to the 4K upscaler. He actually has he's got a 4K. He's got the KS8000, I believe it is. And he was showing games on and you can't really tell, especially watching through YouTube on a regular monitor, but you could see he was doing like the games that were 900p, and then like he did Mass Effect. He showed the 900p build, and then he showed the PlayStation build. And he said, yeah, you can see the difference. They both have the HDR on the Xbox is good. It helps it, but some of the scenes are 720p and it's upscaled through HDR, and then it upscales through 4K. He said you can just really tell this doesn't look as good. Well, somebody was arguing with him in his comment section. An Xbox guy was like, well, you need to turn this down, and you don't have your screen calibrated right. I mean, they went back and forth for 3 days. Yeah, I mean, and this is the guy that I turn to, and for everybody who's got a Samsung TV, it doesn't matter if it's an 8,000, 9,000, 7,000, 6,000 series. Calibrating the TV is going to calibrate the TV, you know. So because Samsung has the same TV technologies, but yeah, but these guys were arguing with him, and to the point where it was a joke, you know.
Man, this is what you have, man, when you have a lot of non-technical people who get on YouTube and read a couple of magazines, and all of a sudden they're technicians and they're developers and they're engineers, you know, those couch engineers. That's what you have. And then you got to realize too, Craig, there's a lot of people that they will believe anything their overlords, whether it's, you know, Microsoft or PlayStation execs tell them. Yeah. Or even to some extent, some PC, you know, AMD and NVIDIA, you know, they'll tell you, hey, this is the fastest car in the world, and it's this and that. And then you got AMD comes out and they said that they're the fastest car in the world. Look, the job of these guys is to sell you by any means, to sell to you. You know what I'm saying? That's their job. So you taking a salesperson's word for it every step of the way, just blindly, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Use your common sense, man. Use your common sense.
Yeah, and Review Tech, I think Rich Review Tech, so shout out to him. he got the Ryzen chip. You know, I think that AMD. I think it's AMD, but I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong with that. But he said it was really, really good. He said he's very impressed by it. And it's, again, I like the fact that the chips are coming down because I'm going to build a PC that's 4K, and I don't want ultra settings. I mean, mid settings to me are fine. Give me mid to low. It's like the one guy said, if you're at 4K, you know, aim for 4K 30. And I think the RX 480 or 486 already does that. So so that's what I'm aiming for. And if I can get something cheaper than that, because that's not like 260 right now. So
exactly. Now this is one thing, man. This is a big common mistake that console guys that they do. Okay, most console guys do not game on PC, and they're not that tech savvy to understand. And they need to realize you cannot compare a console spec to a PC spec. The video card in the PC is way faster than the one in the console, even if it's the same number. And this is why. It's because a PC is made to run at the most maximum setting that you have. You have a bigger power supply. You have, you know, it's just made to run at maximum setting. Well, a console, it comes with the mobile chip, the laptop chip of the same spec from a desktop PC. So you're comparing a laptop to a desktop model of a video card, and that's why you're making your first mistake right there. The console has to run on a smaller power supply, and it's meant to be power efficient. It's not meant to run at max settings all the time. So when they give you the benchmark of a spec of a CPU and a whole console power, and they say it's 6 teraflops or 4.2 teraflop, that's the maximum amount of power that you will get at one time. That doesn't mean that system is going to run with the GPU and CPU running at max settings all the time. That just does not happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested to see is exactly. And look, this is for everybody to know. If they come out tomorrow and they say, "Look, we're going to happen next year," maybe they're doing it now. BioWare said that they didn't get the spec sheets on the the dev kit for the Scorpio. So if they do a 4K 60 or 4K 30, how you want to put it, build of Mass Effect Andromeda, and then they're able to get the old Mass Effect games to 1080p and upscale, however you want to put it, then I will consider breaking my own rule and buying that thing day one. I may consider breaking my own rule. But again, the first game I would go buy for it is Mass Effect 1. So but that's me, because that way I can do that on the cheap.
Well,
so if GameStop is still open.
Exactly. Well, you're right about that, man. And thanks to Microsoft trying to put them out of business. Let me ask you, since you brought that up, let me ask you this. Okay. We're going to assume that the Scorpio is going to launch. It's going to have, Microsoft is holding out releasing any games this year, and they're just going to finally release games when Scorpio comes out. And that's going to be, 3, 4, 5 games. And then the rest is going to be the games that you've had from your regular Xbox One. It's just going to be, there's a patch, or it's just going to automatically inside the system upscale it to 4K. Do you think all those backward compatible Xbox 360 games, they're going to be able to take those games that ran at, sub 720p, scale those up as well to 4K? And how is that shit going to look? Isn't that going to look, ugh? I mean, that has to look ugly, man. I mean, upscaling only goes so far before it's just,
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And that to me is what, at that point, if they're able to do something with the shaders and things like that, because you're right, the source is not going to change. So if you take a game like, I don't know, hell, like I said, you take Splinter Cell, Pandora tomorrow, the second Splinter Cell, that is what it is. Unless they can go in and change the source codes,
the original, unless they go and get the original stuff, which I I just can't see that. That has to look ugly. It's already ugly when you're looking at some of these, 720p games that are not visually stunning and they have kind of older textures. It just I don't want to play that stuff, man. And that maybe that's just me. I want to play stuff that was designed for the system, that's next gen, and it's modern, and it's meant to get the most out of my television. And this is why I invest in high end into the best TV, I can get. It's just so there will be no doubt in my mind that this is the best that this game can produce, and this is the best that this TV is going to produce. There is nothing else out there that's going to give me a better picture quality from this setup.
Yeah, and that's one of the first things. That's one of the first things. I didn't even call it a troll. I was in, shout out to One Stop for Gamers. Shout out to him. I was in one of, he was just talking one day. He did a video, and somebody said, well, I still want to play 360 games. And I remember the first thing I typed, and I remember it verbatim, it said, you bought an 8th gen console to play 7th gen games with a question mark, and then I put poor bastard. Like, why did you buy an 8th gen console? I mean, to this day, I understand it, though, because, again, the Xbox 360 is one of, if not, the PS2 and then the Xbox 360 are the two best gaming consoles I can recall, and then until this PlayStation came out, PlayStation 4 came out. So I understand, and they have classic games on there, and that's what the Young Man Gamers United was saying. They haven't had that big splash game on this system. That's why they've reacted so badly to like a Horizon. You brought up Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a game that they want to play.
Yeah.
But it's not on their system. They don't have this generation, they haven't had, they've had a Halo game, which Halo is slowing down. I'm in the minority. I liked Halo 5. I guess it was Halo 5. Was it Halo 5? Yeah, it was Halo 5.
Yeah, Halo 5, yeah.
Yeah, I liked Halo 5. I liked Halo Reach. So I've liked the last few Halos. I even liked Halo 4. But and Halo Wars, if you want to advance the lore of Halo, that was fine too. But he was saying that they do not have any big bangers, to bring out with One Stop and or the General Iron Wolf would say. There's just
shout out to Wolf.
Yeah, shout out to big time to Iron Wolf, the General of a PlayStation. So they've but that's this young man. That's what he was telling me, that they don't have anything of that. There's nothing on their system that looks like Horizon. Nothing. I mean, Tomb Raider does look like Uncharted. It is what it is.
Yeah, but that's not their game. That's a multiplat that you can buy. So you can't take Lara Croft and Tomb Raider as your own. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uncharted is something that you can only and you'll ever only get on a PlayStation. On Horizon Zero Dawn is the same way, and Infamous is the same. So you see what I'm saying? The trend I'm getting here. Sony just has something in their games, in their studios, that they have the talent that even if you hate Sony and you hate PlayStation and you tell yourself, I hate those motherfuckers, pardon my French. You just know when you see those commercials going around and you see Spider-Man swinging and you see God of War and you see, the GT Sport and the all of freaking major games, you just know deep down in your soul that, damn, that shit look good. I wish I had that on my system. And you don't. But all you got to do is just go get you a cheap PlayStation 4 and enjoy all of this greatness. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand. Why is it so hard? You look, even if I'm a diehard Xbox guy, I'll get on Twitter, I'll get on YouTube, whatever. I'll talk all the crap I want about PlayStation. Yeah. But when inside my house by myself when nobody's looking, I'm going to be playing Uncharted. I'm going to be playing God of War. I'm going to be playing all of this. And you got to think about it. Some of the most diehard Xbox YouTube guys have, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to even advertise these guys, but they all have PlayStations, and all they do is talk about PlayStation. All they do is PlayStation ain't this, and they don't have any games, but these guys, they have PlayStations.
Yeah, and I've heard them. I mean, the last few weeks they have pretty much the best way they could just kind of bow out. They're just like, look, if you all like those kind of games, talking about the Neos and Nier Automata, the Nier's on PC, but they have said the fact that Microsoft didn't even try to get those games and they're just giving that market to Sony. That's really, and and Phil Spencer, he went over with a resume, a can of corn, whatever, and he begged for
a suitcase full of money. Yeah,
a suitcase, whatever he was going to take, and he threw it at him. I don't know if he can't probably not develop anything now for the Xbox One proper, but maybe the Scorpio. Like, I know he's desperately trying to bring the MLB series to the Xbox. Yeah, because the RBI baseball, that is trash. I mean, that is straight trash. I mean, it was trash back in the day. It wasn't as good as Bases Loaded on the Nintendo. Exactly. Back in the day. But it's I just don't. Man, I just they have conceded here. It's almost like they're like, okay, we have a new console coming. We'll concede. We have more power. And I told somebody I trolled the other day. This person said, "Hey, Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Red Dead Redemption, the best version of that is going to be on the Xbox." And I said, aren't both those games have exclusive content for Sony? So what difference does it make? You're not going to get the complete game, So for a while they could hold the Red Dead stuff for a year. They hold that content for a year. It's going to come eventually, but. I remember Microsoft did that with Grand Theft Auto 4 with Lost and Damned and the Battle, and both those DLCs were fantastic, by the way. So fantastic. I told people Lost and Damned was just like Sons of Anarchy, and there's never been anything like the Ballad of Gay Tony. That's all I can say. That was fun to play though. So
to tell you the truth, it's funny how the tables have turned this generation, and it seems like Sony kind of, they saw the error in their ways and they fixed it, and they were able, even last generation, when Sony was getting beat, they launched a year late and they launched $200 more than the Xbox 360. Some reason, after a certain time, they ended up catching their stride, and they were able to come back, after having that huge deficit. And win the generation, but this generation.
I remember the E3. Not to interrupt you. I remember the E3. They started catching up. They did. Yeah. They showed Uncharted 2, I think.
Yeah, Uncharted 2,
and they showed Uncharted 2. They showed Metal Gear 4.
Yep.
And they also Call of Duty was being played on the Xbox One stage. And then Infinity Ward cut it off. Like, they just cut it off, and they said, if you want to see the rest of the demo, you have to come over to the Sony booth. I mean, that E3 is kind of when Sony started to claw back in this thing. And Blu-ray, and let's be honest here, when Blu-ray became the standard definition, and it became cheaper because LG made a Blu-ray, Magnavox, I think, made a Blu-ray, RCA, and you went into, and they went from being 198, they went from like 248, and they were 198, and Avatar came out, and in order to really watch that in all its glory, you needed a Blu-ray player. That's when Sony kind of made their move. That Christmas, Sony outsold. The PS3 outsold the Xbox 360. It was like 2002 or something. It was somewhere like that. It was,
It's crazy you mentioned that, because do you remember the whole war between Microsoft and Sony when it came to the HDVD versus the Blu-ray?
Yeah, I remember that. Like,
a lot of people, they forgot that when the Xbox 360 first launched, they put their money on the HD DVD.
Yeah, but understand why that was already in most people's homes.
Yeah.
These would come out, and they were like 12, like Walmart. You go get them for like 12, 15, but on release day.
Exactly.
And so that's why. Yeah, but Sony makes movies, and when they came out and said no, all our movies are going to Blu-ray. So,
only Spider-Man is going to be on Blu. Yeah, you got to think about it like that, man. The power, the power of the whole movie factor, and this is another card that Sony has in its back pocket. This is why they were able to secure the Spider-Man. It's because they do own movie studios and they're able to cut deals like that. They're able to say, hey, I'll let you do, we'll go ahead and shoot your movie, but you got to give me the rights to create this video game. So Sony has the willing and dealings behind that to do that. So, it wouldn't shock me if they get some more comic movies coming out as video games.
Yeah. And also with the PlayStation, with when they finally got Mass Effect 2 and 3 over to, which was corny because they didn't have Mass Effect 1. And I'm like, this is a joke. But I remember they had their Mass Effect 2 version on the PlayStation 3. It was running on the Mass Effect 3 engine. Yeah. So if you play Mass Effect 2 on PlayStation 3, you're playing the Mass Effect 3 engine. So the way he moved the Mass Effect 3, your character was doing that in Mass Effect 2, and and it came with all the DLC. It came with Kasumi, Kasumi Broken Dreams, and then it came with Zai. It came with all that, as part of the. But I remember them that E3. They kind of made their move at that point. They're like, all right, we're getting back into this thing. And they steadily climbed back up. Because if you were a big Mass Effect fan and you wanted to see what the new engine was like, you had to go buy a PlayStation 3.
Exactly.
Which I didn't do, by the way. But yeah, that's because I already had a Blu-ray and I had a Sony Blu-ray. So I'm like, I'm already supporting Sony. I got their Blu-ray.
But don't forget, you got guys saying that anytime Sony gets these exclusive DLC deals and locks these games up, that's anti-consumerism.
Well, it's funny how that is now when they didn't say anything about it last generation. That's what I try to do, is just call out the hypocrisy. It's like, okay, look, the hypocrisy of the Xbox community is what drives me crazy more than anything. Don't say anti-consumerism when the DLC for Call of Duty was all with Microsoft, and the DLC with Grand Theft Auto was with Microsoft, even though Grand Theft Auto was the biggest, was a huge PlayStation franchise. I remember when Peter Moore came out there and lifted up his arm and said, I remember that. I'm like, oh, Grand Theft Auto, so.
But see, that's when Microsoft was at its peak. They didn't care. They were willing to go blow to blow with Sony. And something happened this generation, man. They just got so weak and they got off topic. And then so what happened is they started panicking. They started slashing prices. They started yanking stuff out. And then, you got to realize, man, this is our money. These consoles, we invest financial. We put our finances in it. So it really is an investment for us financially. We don't want to feel like, hey, I've invested all this money in this system and it's dog shit. And a lot and that's just the facts. That's just the facts. And that goes back to what you said when you asked me. This is why a lot of Xbox guys are not willing to concede that this generation has been over. Not over, but has been over. After, like I said, I bought the Xbox One first day. Spent about $800 with controllers and all this other stuff, and just you know how it is when you buy a new console. You got to buy all the stuff that's available, all accessories.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, they cut the price by $100, and they start yanking stuff out, and then they started throwing in games, and it was just one big fire sale. And then 6 months out of that, they cut it another $50, and then another $50, and that's when I knew it was over. It was a fire sale. And they had lost their confidence. They, and then the games stopped coming. Then the studio started closing down. Then Phil Spencer comes out and started saying these, all this crazy stuff that just didn't make any sense. We canceled this game and it's great for the game. What the fuck? Everybody, even guys on the other side of the aisle, was asking for Crackdown. This was the defining game that was supposed to give people what they wanted, and that just never came. Was not running. Yeah, Crackdown, that demo that they showed, like was it 2015, I think. They never, that was running on a PC. And on
their PC. their cloud and on a cloud PC, because that's the one where they got exposed for they were showing all kind of stuff, but it was all on PC. So and it's kind of like, all right, yeah. And so that's the thing with Crackdown is so that that's disappointing. But I remember that SKU dropping.
Yeah, I actually meant Scalebound, but Crackdown is another one. They showed it off, and they got guys hyped up for the cloud for the last 2 years, and then it was DX12, then it was the ESRAM update, then it was it was just all these marketing terms that get people hyped for nothing. And then it's like, okay, well, I thought DX12 and Windows 10 and all this stuff was supposed to make this system a beast. And then here it is 4 years into the cycle, you still getting still getting 720p games. I don't know, man. I don't know.
The whole thing with the cloud and DX12, that was more for the PC. They were going to do DX12 no matter what, because they did DX11 a couple years ago. So of course they're going to do DX12. But people thought that was going. I remember Phil Spencer tweeting out, "No, it's only for PC." They're asking about the cloud. It's only for the PC. But everything was being stored in the cloud at that point. I mean, people didn't know. I'm like, okay, where do you think when you put your information in for Xbox Live, where do you think that goes?
Yeah,
it goes into the cloud. They didn't have a name. I think they called it the Azure serving system.
Yeah. And you remember the Drivatars was supposed to be cloud based in Forza. The cars are supposed to race just like real people. All this stuff is marketing hype, man. And I get it. You're trying to sell me something, but don't do that, man. Your system is failing. You knew it was underpowered. Just just concede and move on, man. I think that's what they should have did. They should have said, "Look, guys, we tried to sell you a media console and kind of all in one, and we fucked up. We yanked everything out, and we're working on something. Just hold the line. Just hold the line. We're working on something. We'll get back with you." And then now they have the Scorpio. Now they can say, "Hey, well, we went with the Xbox and we fixed everything. We forgot about the media stuff." Now I feel like Microsoft is trying to overcompensate for the failings of the last 3 to 4 years. And I just don't know if that's going to work, because to tell you the truth, I would rather have seen them to do a slight bit more power in a console, invest the rest of the money into some studios and into some games.
Which I think they're going to announce studio stuff at E3. I think people somebody just tweeted me. I'm like, all right, look, they're not going to announce any games tomorrow. They're just going to announce the specs, which to me, it's only news if the specs change.
Yes.
I mean, I can see if they came out and it was only 5 T-flops, and they're like, oh, that's a change, but if it's going to be 6, and I was told today it was going to be 6.1 to 6.2.
Yeah, that's
flop. So because 0.2 is going to run their OS, or 0.1 to 0.2 will run the OS, and then the 6 will be dedicated for nothing but the gaming. So
listen, this is what would make me buy a Scorpio day one. If they come out with games that look like Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted, God of War, Days Gone, Spider-Man, all of these visually stunning games, if they drop games that look like that, I will buy it. But if they sell me on, no, you will be able to play your current games, but just upscale and sparse to 4K, well, to me, that's not going to work, because to me it's about the games. I know a lot of guys don't want to hear that. A lot of guys will say, yeah, you were talking about resolution. Yeah, that has something to do with it. Obviously, nobody wants to play the subpar version of the game. Get that straight. To tell you the truth, a lot of guys would rather play on PC than on a console, because they care about power. But consoles are where your friends are. It's easy accessible. You don't have to worry about freaking drivers not being updated and having your system crash. This is why consoles should always remain the primary form of gaming.
Yeah, unless you want to play something like Star Citizen like I do, and I can't play that on consoles.
Exactly.
I mean, I can play Elite Dangerous, and Elite Dangerous is supposed to be released for the PlayStation this year. you know, that's something else. You don't hear the PlayStation community screaming at the Xbox people, oh, well, you all held Elite Dangerous for, it's going on 2 years, I think, with Elite Dangerous. They've had it exclusively. But yeah, oh man, yeah, like I said, I certainly hope, well, what I think it's going to do is it will change the narrative back to gaming, because for a year, it's been nothing but chipsets and hardware and things like that. And to their credit, Sony released a ton of hardware last year. The Pro came out, the PlayStation VR came out. Yeah. And, you know, so I've told the PlayStation folks, look, they had a nice, they had their shine last. I mean, they did. The PlayStation VR is the biggest selling VR in the world. It's outsold all other VRs. They're making games for HTC now and things like that. So yeah, I mean, look, their time to shine now. We can just concentrate on the games, and you know, these games are just rolling out. I'm gonna have to email Sony, like, hey, look, quit making these games. I'm getting broke here. So
exactly. But let me ask you this though. Back to getting on the games. All this year, you've been seeing Sony drop 3 and 4 and 5 games per month, if not more, per month. This year, I mean, whether you like those games or not, and this is what I tell people: look, it doesn't matter if it's a JRP, it doesn't matter if it's a action game, a sport game, or whatever. It's a game that you can only get on one platform, one console. Right. Okay, so these guys are delivering games to their fan base. If you are a true gamer, what would keep you from playing games? Are you sitting here waiting to December or November or whenever Scorpio dropped to, you know, play a new game? I'm not talking about these launch games, because I hear guys saying, hey, I'm enjoying Rise, I'm enjoying Sunset Overdrive and Halo but I'm like, man, that's old stuff. I don't look backwards at all, man. I do not look backwards. I always look forward.
Yeah, well, see, that's their community in a nutshell, though. They are willing to just play online with their friends. I mean, that's what they want to do, is come home, put on I teased a friend of mine. I just said, man, all y'all want to do is come home, put on a headset and shoot the Arbiter. That's it. Or hide behind a tree and say, well, I'm going to shoot him in the face, and then I'm going to get one-man army, and then somebody can call in the B2. That's the way their community is. And the Sony community tends to trend a little bit older. If you look at the games you named, like Horizon and even God of War, Spider-Man, Uncharted, those games are more known for their single player experiences. Even the baseball game, yes, you can play that online, but that's not the main thing. Near Automata, Gravity Rush, you're right. All single player games. And I told Gamers United, I said, maybe it's because when I grew up, there was no online play. Okay?
There was no multiplayer. Yeah, you're right.
There's no such thing as multiplayer. The first time I did anything multiplayer was on a PC. It was a game called Descent, and then that led me to buying Diablo. That led me to buying Doom, Ghost Recon. So those. But that's their community. They much rather just play a game that, like, they'll buy Halo and they won't even touch the story. They'll just start playing the online mode. That's why they didn't like. Let me tell you this. That's why they didn't like Halo Reach, because see, Halo Reach, if all you did was go online, it just gave you basic stuff. And then when you played people who had played the story, it unlocked more stuff for the multiplayer, and we were slaughtering people. And they were like, that's not fair. You all have better weapons. It's like, well, you need to play the campaign. Exactly. We're not going to play the campaign. And they did it with Rainbow Six Vegas. Wow. So that's that. And that could be a game Microsoft comes out with, because that's if they come out with another Rainbow Six, I heard they're going to do that, and Splinter Cell on the Scorpio. So that's all great news. But for me, that's what I told Gamers United. It's just the gamers on the PlayStation are older because we started playing back with the Nintendo and the ColecoVision and things like that. None of that stuff existed. There was no online play. So.
That's true. Well, yeah, for a lot of these guys come up in the multiplayer era, And this is why Halo is kind of near and dear to their heart, is because they came up in that generation where it was multiplayer. But but okay, with that being said, that's the biggest stark differences between the Xbox platform and the PlayStation. And one is successful and one is not so successful. So do you know what I'm saying? I know for a fact, man, if the Sony games were on Xbox, if they were Xbox only games, these guys would be in the same position that Sony fans are. I mean, they would be loving it. They would be gloating. They would just be so happy, but they don't have them. And they're not willing to go out and spend $249 to get a PlayStation 4, even though use OG PlayStation 4 from GameStop. Some of these guys are just not willing to do that. They are willing to be without these games and all of this good stuff that's going on. They are just willing to not do it. And I call those now that's what I call a corporate slave. People who pretend to be gamers but will not invest in the games, whether it's on a rival platform or not. They've backed Microsoft back into a corner, because you got to think about it. We can't say Microsoft haven't delivered games to them. Microsoft have tried. These guys just did not go out and support it. The only games that they would support was the Halos, the Forzas, and the Gears. So Microsoft, I can see why they're not investing a lot of money in these studios and these games, because they tried. People didn't buy. So you have right now people saying, man, I want a Rise 2. I want a Sunset Overdrive 2. I want this too. You didn't go out and buy the first one. So when you get those games coming out on Games for Gold, your people happy and cheering. We got this, we got that. Why didn't you guys support these games when they were fresh and new, and you would have a sequel right about now? Stop hyping up Games for Gold games when you should have bought the original one.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree, but you're right. They much rather have, like JDub said in the comment section, they much rather have bragging rights than they would games. And I heard Hard 8 say that. So shout out to Hard 8 Times. He did a podcast and he said, look, it's why in the world do you want bragging rights instead of games? This is not going to be the first time Microsoft's had the most powerful console out. Exactly. It's not. It's just, keep it 100 here. The Xbox, the original Xbox, was way more powerful than the PlayStation 2. The games look better. I'm talking about the multiplayer games did look better. And I remember Grand Theft Auto Vice City box versus on the PlayStation 2. And I thought when I was playing it on the PlayStation, I'm like, well, maybe a rainstorm has moved in and it looks cloudy. But it was because they couldn't process the game. It wasn't clear. Where I remember the Xbox, you went across the bridge on the Xbox and there was no load screen. I couldn't get used to that. The PS2 was a load screen. Right.
But that also showed you another thing, Craig. That also showed you that it's not all about power, because that console continued to sell after PlayStation 3 had been out for 3 or 4 years already. They didn't cancel the PlayStation 2, man, until damn near the PlayStation 4 was out.
Yeah.
That lets you know that people cared about games, and they cared about those experiences.
Yeah, and now they're saying, that's why I think they're running around saying, well, now the PlayStation community is saying it's never been about power. For me, it's really never been about it. The only game that I saw a significant difference was for Witcher 3, because when they delayed it so that Microsoft could get their dev kit out and get their game to 900p, and then it was screen tearing, and I'm like, all right, you know what, this is garbage, And they're like, well, no, it runs dynamic resolution, and it did, but when it couldn't hold it. There's no reason to have dynamic resolution if you can't hold it.
Let's not forget now, this generation, because of the Xbox, Microsoft has created these terms like dynamic resolution and all of this stuff, basically to tell you that this system is too weak to do something. So now don't start screaming and yelling when they, when Sony talked about checkerboard rendering. Well, then now, they started yelling and screaming about checkerboard rendering. You can't even do 4K or whatever. Well, then now with the Scorpio, Microsoft, it leaked. Microsoft has something called sparse rendering, which is basically checkerboard rendering. It's a way to get to 4K without using and draining all the resources to do that. That frees up more performance to do other things. So I don't know. We're gonna see, man. We're gonna see with the Scorpio. I'm hoping it does well. I really want to see the games. It's going to take games to sell me on it. But at the same time, if this system does what these fanboys have been hyping it up and what Microsoft has been hyping it up, if it turns out to be 4K uncompromised 60 frames per second on every single game, then that bars the question. Why should these PC guys go and spend $600 and $700 on video cards? Something doesn't pass the sniff test. So that's a debate between the PC guys and the Xbox guys from this point going.
Yeah, but now what do you think about the oh damn, I lost my train of thought there.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Nothing you did. Now let me ask you this. All right. So what do you think about it? I'm pretty sure it's going to be able to hit 1080p 60 on all the titles. At 60 flops. So do you think they should, the developer, if you were a developer, would you aim for the 1080p 60? Would you do because you're already upscaling, so whether it's 1440p, and I went to a friend of mine's house today and he's got Mass Effect on his PC and he's running it 1440p and 60 FPS. So that's and it looked stunning. I mean, it looked. Yeah. But again, he had a 4K, the Samsung 4K monitor, the curve when he just bought that, and so I looked at the game for like an hour. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why I came home and said, man, I got to figure out how to get HDR on this damn thing. So, that's kind of the way my morning started. But so do you think that's what they're going to go ahead and hit more than likely, or do you think it will be the 4K?
Listen,
uncompromised.
Nope. Look, there's no backing away now. There's no backing away now. These guys say 4K 60 uncompromised. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to see anything less. I don't want to see no checkerboard. I don't want to see nothing because this is what this system was hyped up to be. 6 teraflops, uncompromised. And that's what that means. You can't give me all of this stuff and then turn around and give me PlayStation Pro games in performance, because I've been playing the PlayStation Pro for a year and a half. By the time the Scorpio drops, I'm looking for a year and a half more advancement of technology on the Scorpio. You can't give me something that I've already been getting for a year and a half. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So no, they have to bring it. I don't want to hear any excuses. There is no 1080p 60. No, I want 4K 60 frames per second, not 59, not 45, not 1440p, not 18. I don't want to hear it, because this system was touted as having 6 teraflops. It has all of this, all of that. It's going to be able to do all the games native. It's going to be. I don't want to hear it. So I think Microsoft and its fanboys and its fans, its install base, has for the last year since they touted the Scorpio coming out, has backed themselves in a corner. They were able to put down the PlayStation Pro, which is $399. They've been able to put that system down, talk about it. I can't do true 4K, whatever the hell that means. 2160p is 2160p to me. But it isn't able to do that. And we all know for a fact, we can name a big laundry list of 4K games, 4K native games, but these guys seem to discount Sony's 4K game, 4K checkerboard and 4K native games as being fake. And theirs will be real. So we're going to see how real it gets. And I guess that's what Digital Foundry is going to be there for. And come launch, that's what I'm going to be expecting. The first sub 4K game I get, the first non 60 frames per second I get, I'm gonna go crazy. These guys are not gonna like me. I'm gonna put my troll hat back on, and I'm gonna be pissing people off. Trust me, man. Do not sell me on something you cannot do. Sony never ever said that their system is uncompromised. They said, look, this is the 4K performance for $399. It's a budget system. It'll get you, if you have a 4K system, this thing will take advantage of it. And it's given that. And Digital Foundry has told you the games that they have, and it tells you with Sony's checkerboard rendering, you can't see any visible difference between the native 4K and the checkerboard 4K. They've said that now. Now, these are supposed to be the same guys that are going to Microsoft testing out this Scorpio. Now, I don't want to hear Digital Foundry is biased. They're fake. They're this. I don't want to hear that, because you know what's going to happen if they say anything that the Xbox guys do not like. They're going to say they're Sony. That's a Sony company. They've already been saying it. That they're in the Sony's pockets. But then if Digital Foundry do walk out saying this system is doing what they advertise it's doing, it's doing 4K 60, then kudos. Then I will be expecting the rest of those games to be 4K 60.
I think their first party games will be 4K 60, but again, if something is 1800p and it like you said, 2160p is 2160p. I said that to somebody the other day. I said, I can't wait to see your face when you realize that 2160p is 2160p, and the guy said, well, it's not native. I said, no, it's not native, but it's still 2160p. And then he came back with, well, what's the difference between 900p and 1080p? And I said, over 1 million pixels. That's the difference, it's versus no difference except for the quality of the picture when you sit up close. But when you sit back, and they've already tested this already, they ran Rise of the Tomb Raider on PC Ultra, on the PlayStation Pro, and on the Xbox One S, and people couldn't. The Xbox One S you could pick out. Yeah, you could pick, and it was still 1080p, but exactly. But on the Pro version, when you sat back, I remember that girl saying, I can't really tell the difference. And ultimately it's going to come down to the price on this damn thing, and we're not going to find that out until maybe Q4. Yeah. Probably right around August, so we'll have to see.
Do you think the strategy, I think I said this in another podcast, was to starve the fan base of games, right? Don't release any games until you release Scorpio, and then you release your games. And then from that point, they're going to think, oh man, we got all these games. We got this brand new console. It's going to be really good to them because they haven't had, any new games in a long time. So it's doubling up, you know what I'm saying? I think either that's going to happen, or at E3, fingers crossed, man, I'm hoping Microsoft comes out with 20 to 30 games. I know I'm stretching it, but Sony did it. Why can't Microsoft? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can say Sony's E3 is going to be nothing but games. It'll be my concern, and I've said this before, is could their E3 be less than their PSX? Because PSX was so good, it was. I don't see how E3 tops it, But you're right. But nevertheless, I just don't think they have a lot of games, so that left the people nothing to talk about but hardware until they got Halo Wars 2, which didn't sell well. Yeah. And then Mass Effect came out, and they said, and literally, I remember listening to a podcast, and the guy was like, well, Mass Effect's an RPG, so you can compare it to Horizon. I'm like, well, that's like comparing a Napoleon's army to the U.S. Army nowadays. It's a no contest, Exactly. Two different kind of styles. Even BioWare, I put it like this, even the Mass Effect fans that have fan pages are disappointed in Mass Effect Andromeda. So, I mean, they were damage control. I unsubbed to one of them today. I said, man, quit damage controlling. The game isn't that good. Now, with that said, tomorrow we get an update. Tomorrow we will get an update on that. Now, let me ask you this. This kind of changes subjects. Do you, with all the updates that are coming allegedly tomorrow, and I don't know if they're all tomorrow, if they're going to be spread out, do you, I don't know how much time you have in, do you go back and start playing the game again? Because you got all, you'll be able to do more stuff with the character and different kind of hair, stuff like that, which to me are the two biggest things for me, with the character creator. So, do you go back and try a different looking character, or what do you think? What do you think people are going to do?
Well, I guess it's up to the end user. For me, I'm probably about 5-6 hours into it.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm going to continue doing what I did. I haven't had the problems. I've been playing it on a pro since day one. I haven't had the problems that other guys have had with the Xbox version. I've been playing it in 4K. The game looks beautiful to me. I don't have any glitches, but that's just my copy. I don't know.
Yeah, because my copy, when I'm driving the Mako, the Nomad.
The Nomad.
Yeah, it will stop and then it will just pick up and go. Now, that may be something that they fix tomorrow. And for all I know, it's gonna smooth out tomorrow. So it's but that's the main thing that I've noticed. And my God, they got to do something about Addison's face. That looks like she. I mean, I understand I thought their faces were looking like that because they came out of cryo sleep. I'm like, well, yeah, your face is not, maybe they did that on purpose, but
I heard they outsourced the animations and stuff. So that would speak volumes. But these guys, think about it, that's a massive game. Yeah. And these guys wanted to crank out games. I mean, I can't tell you, man. You look at Final Fantasy 15. I mean, some of these guys have been working on games for damn near a decade. I can see whatever it takes to get this game out. Sometimes I'm like, I don't care if this shit broke. Just release it, man. I just want to get my hands on it. At this point in time,
Let me ask you this with the RPGs. So let's rank them here. We have Witcher 3. We have Horizon Zero Dawn. I've not played Neo. And is Neo an RPG?
It is.
Okay, so let's do Neo, Persona 5. This came out. Dragon Age Inquisition.
Well, I just picked up Persona 5 today.
Yeah, I'm buying it Friday. Yeah, I'm buying it next Friday, I should say. Okay. Yeah. But because I haven't even cracked over the MLB yet. But out of those 5 or 6 games, RPGs, where would you rank? How would you rank those? So we got Witcher, we got Horizon. Well, after this, we can wrap it up. Okay. But Witcher, Horizon, Mass Effect Andromeda, Dragon Age Inquisition, and Final Fantasy 15. So out of those 5, how would you rank them?
Okay. I would say Witcher 3 first.
Right.
Because that had a impact on me and it did it first. So I'll give it its due respect. That game played great on all platforms, no matter what you had. So then I would have to give it up to Horizon Zero Dawn, man. The game gave you the graphics, it gave you the gameplay, it gave you the story, and it just, I mean, even to this day, man, you just go and turn your console on and just let that puppy sit there, and it's like, geez. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And it's a toss-up between Neo and Final Fantasy 15. I'm probably about 15 hours into Final Fantasy 15. And the reason I'm these hours in is because Sony, man, they release so many games at once. You kind of, so I'll buy 4 games and I may not get around to one, to next week, or I'll put an hour or 2 in here and then I got to switch to another game because it's just overload. And that's just a problem that, the Sony guys just have to deal with. All these games coming out, going to keep you broke.
Yeah.
Mass Effect, it would be towards the bottom. And I'm going to say this because I've been playing it. I think it's a great game. I think it's beautiful. I think it has a great story, but it hasn't grasped me and caught me in yet that says I can't, I can't turn this system out. I have to stay up late to play this game. Witcher, man, I was up, 3-4 o'clock in the morning playing that game.
Jeez, did you do the extension or the expansion packs too?
Yeah. So I mean, plus I got it was so good I had to buy it on PC as well. So I got it on the PlayStation and the PC.
Yeah.
So I would rank those in that order. Not saying that all of them are great games. You know, all of them are great games. You can't go wrong by picking the bottom of the list or the top of the list. It's just personally, in my opinion, that's the order it would go in.
Right. Yeah, I got a similar order. I go Witcher 3 with Horizon like right there.
Yeah,
right there in the same they're on the same block. You know, they next door neighbors. But yeah, I give Witcher 3 because they did set such a high standard. I agree with you. You gotta give the devil his due. Then I would put Horizon, but I've got them like 1 and 1A or however people want to rank them. Mm-hmm. After that, surprisingly, I've got Dragon Age Inquisitions because that's a good game.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
It was the beginning. It was at the beginning of the generation, and it really it was one of the first games I vaguely remember the whole console war thing. It was 1080p on the PlayStation, but 900p on the Xbox. So again, this is something that's kind of where I first started noticing what was, I'm kind of like, well, why can't Xbox hit the same mark? I just didn't know why.
Well, it's funny because I got Dragon Age Inquisition. I bought it on EA Access. I had the EA Access on my Xbox, so I ended up getting it at a discount. So I've played the game. I beat the game and love it. Yeah. But I did that on the Xbox. So
yeah. Well, let me ask you about Mass Effect. Now you played all the other Mass Effects, right?
Yes.
All right, and even with Dragon Age Inquisitions, you could customize the other characters, even plus your own. Do you think that's something that Mass Effect they really need to look at doing? Because you can do it on all the other Mass Effects.
Mm-hmm.
Even Mass Effect 1. I mean, how many costumes could you put Liara in, and then Tali? You could buy them. You could go buy, or they would find different stuff in the field. Do you think this time when you can't, PB has on the same thing no matter what? The Andromeda Initiative team, you can change your outfit. Do you think that? And I understand. I mean, they should be able to wear some kind of armor. They got on the same shit.
Exactly.
So, do you think that's something BioWare could look into?
Well, this is my thought on that. Mm-hmm. I think BioWare was kind of trying to save something and set that up for a DLC down the line, but I just think they just got caught. They got caught up on it. They got called out on it early on. People realize, hey, this is the shit I had in part in other games. Don't gimp out on me on this. And I'm expecting it. So the fans called them out on it. So they had no choice but try to struggle and say, yeah, we're working on something. We'll try to get this fixed. But and that's a problem we're probably going to have this generation going forward, is people taking content and extra stuff that you used to can do in previous games and holding it out and then release it via DLC so they can make some money off of it.
Yeah. Where was it? Yeah, I've got Dragon Age 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Final Fantasy 15, and I didn't beat Final Fantasy 15, but that game is nice. I mean, they did a real good job, and of course, I know they patched it, and when you have the boost mode and all that kind of stuff, it's supposedly really improved. And then and for me, it hurts to say this. I'll put Mass Effect Andromeda kind of down where you had it, and I gave it. Now, granted, I didn't know my TV could do what it could do, and that's on me because I was just a dumbass. I got a Samsung, the 6290, so I'm one series below the 6300, and I just didn't know my TV had HDR. I mean, it says it had HDR plus on it, but every time I would turn that on, it would just get dark. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not compatible, And that's why I was going to buy another TV. I'm like, I need to get another TV and get with HDR, But now that I know my TV can do it, and thanks with your help and the people online, YouTube, those guys are helping me out. But yes, it's sad to say. Now look, there's a ton of content. This is for everybody that's going to listen. There's a ton of content in Mass Effect. If you're trying to do like me and do all the side missions, and hell, I'm even trying to find the plants to grow on the ship on the Nexus. So I'm trying to do that. So it's I certainly hope that they can fix it tomorrow. I mean, I'll come home from work tomorrow. I'm off on Friday and Saturday. So I'll be able to really dig into, I'll load it up, or whatever, update, whatever I got to do. And so, yeah, but it's down at the bottom right now. I certainly hope it can move up past Final Fantasy 15. If you had told me that Final Fantasy was going to be better than Mass Effect, you would have won money off of me. But that Final Fantasy 15, that's damn good. That's a damn good game. So
yeah, I think what did Mass Effect in is before the game, and this is my problem I have, man, with the gaming in general, the gaming industry in general, is a lot of these people getting their hands on pre-patched games and giving their reviews, giving their reviews before the game is patched and stuff like that. And then the memes come out, the GIFs come out, and it will literally destroy sales. And you got to realize, man, that may be fun for us to pass that stuff around, but at the same time, if we don't get another Mass Effect game because of something that happened in the beginning, that could be a bad thing. That's just a bad thing. Anytime a game is talked about in a bad way, sure, we joke fun and we poke fun and stuff like that at some games, but guys, we always want sequels. I'm not saying a sequel every year, but we do want developers to keep giving us the games. We see it on the Microsoft side. It's just not going so good.
My whole take on it is, man, I honestly, and this is just my opinion, I don't think BioWare wanted to make the game. I mean, because you had a lot of people leave BioWare, from Casey Hudson to think Peter Watermaker, he left. The original story writer left. He came back, I think, for this one, but I just think they had such a sour taste in their mouth for the way their fans left Mass Effect 3. And it wasn't BioWare's fault. I thought the ending was fine. For me, it made sense. They, like I said, they don't know come here from Sikkim. But I agree with you with the early thing, and with the Mass Effect channels that I watch, EA actually invited them out to San Francisco to play the game. And they played the game, and then they did not review it and say, here's the problems. Even if they couldn't say it, they could just say, look, I enjoy playing the game. It does have some issues. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. And they were saying on their last podcast that they had an investment, they have an emotional investment in seeing the game do well. So I'm like, dude, y'all are terrible.
Exactly.
And I tweeted one of the guys, I'm going to unsub unless you stop damage control.
Exactly.
And he said, well, my channel is built. He tweeted me back. My channel was built on Mass Effect, and they are trying to fix the game. I just said, all right, so that means you're not going to stop damage controlling. So I'm going to unsub. Now, that doesn't mean I won't still go over to their channels and watch them, But this, I agree with you. See, I don't think there's going to be another Mass Effect game. After this, So
just like you said, look what happened with No Man's Sky. That game has had plenty of content to come out and fixed all the stuff that was wrong with it, and just not a lot of people went back. Right now, it's an excellent game. It's a great game, but people, once that first initial mindset set in, that's it. The same thing did Quantum Break-In. Once that buzz got in, that it was just 6 hours and it was 720p or sub 720p, and then they tried to checkerboard that stuff. That was it. That game was DOA. And that was something. It's just something. Us as gamers, we have to realize this, man. These guys spend years and years making these games to give to us. We need to stop knocking this stuff before we get our hands on it, because it will directly affect it may not affect us right now, but now a year later, 2 years later, when you talk about, man, why they don't make another Quantum Break? You know why? It's because fast forward 2 years before, the crap you was talking about, I don't want no 720p game. Well, guess what? You didn't get any game.
Yeah, I agree. I told PlayStation News Now, so shout out to Fox. I just said, man, look, you had and the Blaze. He was on the same show. I'm just going to say the same thing. They had a media of fanboys and fangirls go in and play that game, and they did not tell the truth on what the problems were. Then the game came out, and the mainstream and the press got a hold of it. It's like, wait a minute, there's all these problems, and then it kind of went back on them. And I'm like, and that's what I said. People are going to start questioning, was there some kind of quid pro quo because they flew you all out there and got you the hotel room, and for you all not to have to say anything about this? What the hell happened here? And that's what people are now starting to say to them. Like, hey, look, why didn't you all report this? And I'm talking about, oh, hell, I'll sell you some of them as Mass Effect follower, Lady Insanity, Ash Lady Insanity, Gamer MD 8083, Minius GC, Biofan, all those, they better come out and just say, hey, look, the game didn't do what we thought it was going to do, and we did not tell the truth, or it looks like quid pro quo. And if it's not, then fine. But those people, they got to get their shit together. That's all I can say. So
yeah. You're right, man. You're right.
So, but yeah, well, with that said, so I think we both agree the Scorpions is going to have to come out in physical form. I don't care what chipset it has in it, but it's going to come out in physical form eventually. And depending on the price and if they live up to what they're going to do, and I certainly hope they do, get Microsoft back in the game, because you can't just have Sony and Nintendo. Another thing this does, though, let me tell everybody this: MPD is about to report. I think they report Wednesday. I think they report next Wednesday. So, and everybody knows at this point who's in first place, who's in second place, and who's in third place. So
yeah.
So
well, I mean, look, right now, these guys want to forget NPD. They want to forget it. No more reporting NPD, because we'll never win another one, or that we don't care about winning it until the Scorpio launches. So that's just what it is. That's a wrap. This generation was over. It was good. We had fun. Looking forward to the next generation coming out. Come on, Scorpio. We're rooting for you.
Yeah, woo, you're right. You're right. Yeah, chestnut. Yeah, and like I said, this thing was over in early 2015. Now, I will say this: the Black Friday sale in 2015 that they had with Microsoft and Sony, that sale, they moved a lot of Xboxes. I mean, bottom line, that's when they kind of got their mojo back. And that was the same year, I think, Rise of the Tomb Raider came out and Fallout 4 came out. So Black Friday, that's when they started moving more consoles.
Yeah, but come on, think about it. They were giving TVs away with that thing. They were giving, $200 gift cards. They were giving, away the whole kitchen sink. So of course that's going to happen. I'm not discounting those months, but it's like, what do you expect? What's going to happen this Black Friday? The same thing that happened the previous Black Fridays for every single generation that ever have video games. Come Black Friday, you're going to get discounts. And when you get discounts, people go and buy. So Microsoft was just more aggressive than Sony, and Sony wasn't in a position where they could care. They didn't care. When you're the leader and you're leading by such a large amount, you don't have to discount your systems, or you don't have to discount it at such a high rate. You know what I'm saying? Sony can kind of sit back, relax a little bit. And that's basically kind of what they did during the Black Friday deals,
Yeah, you're right about that. Good point. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up here, Mr. J. I do appreciate your time. We went about an hour and a half. And so, yeah, I do appreciate it. It's good conversation, and we kept it 100, no fanboying out. And I think we both agree we're just going to kind of have to wait and see exactly what the Scorpions are going to do. So hopefully it does what they say it's going to do. And like you said, this generation is over. Let's go Scorpio. Sony won. They drank the milk, and got the girl and all, whatever you want to say. So, but yeah, I appreciate you coming in on Craig's Corner.
Thanks for having me.
So I do appreciate it. And like I said, this was episode 8. 8 or 9, I can't remember which one this was. I think it was 8. But I do appreciate your time, and I did survive the storm. It looks like it passed, and I did survive and get swooped up. So but I'll let you get back to your bourbon, and I'm gonna get back to some play another hour of Mass Effect with the HDR turned on. And thanks for the advice on that with the TV, because it was just getting dark and I had to keep hitting the button.
No problem, man. Anytime. Just anytime you need anything, just hit me up. And thanks for having me on the podcast, man. I'm always willing to jump on, and I'm working on my channel now, and I'm definitely gonna have you on mine. So
I do appreciate that. Yeah, I do. And so guys, this is Craig Harris with Kratos. Go ahead and shout yourself on out there, brother, here at the end.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and thank the guys in the comment section. Thank the guys who subscribe to Craig. Those 105 of Scott. You guys make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you retweet my brother's page. The guy's awesome, man. And he's going to be rocking out with us more and more. And I want you guys to support him. And look out for me. I'm on Twitter, JDub City. JW16 at Twitter. I'm always keeping it hot, keeping it fresh, keeping things going. This week I'm kind of chilling back. I'm going to kind of lay low starting today. I'm gonna lay low. I'm gonna let the Microsoft guys get their digest. I do want Microsoft to be competitive. I do want them to go back and forth with Sony and Nintendo. I enjoy gaming, love gaming. I like this interaction that we have. Let's just keep it respectful, keep it gaming. Let's continue to enjoy our hobby.
All right, I appreciate it. This is Craig Harris. Follow me on Twitter. I think I'm Craig at Craig Harris 456 or something like that. Shout out to all the subs, and shout out to you guys joining me again. It was fun. I always average between 5 and 10 viewers, and I like it. I got a nice little number. They're loyal. And so I appreciate it. And thanks for the questions. And this is Craig Harris, Craig's Corner. Thanks, JDub, for coming in. And this is the black man in the green chair with JDub signing out. Take it easy, guys. Peace out.
Peace.